The 70s is a very easy shorthand to discuss a lot of really profound changes that were happening in the film industry. We have, as we mentioned, the rise of the new Hollywood movement. We have blaxploitation. We get the first modern blockbusters in Jaws and Star Wars, which leads to the birth of the modern franchise. So let's start off with talking about why the 70s are important and identify some of these major moments and shifts.
Sure. Well, I think you laid it out pretty well there, right? Is that you're right. Decades are arbitrary distinctions, but if we look at this decade in particular, we can map a lot of important developments and shifts. Which is to say that Hollywood begins the 1970s under one configuration and ends it under another entirely different one, right?
Mhm.
Not to say, there's not an enormous difference between 1969 and 1970 or 1979 and 1980, but there certainly is between 1970 and 1979. So I think being able to trace that, is really rewarding. And so, yeah, I'll go into the structure of the class. And so we start off looking at the conditions that led from the classic Hollywood studio system to this post-classical, post-studio era. So things such as the Supreme Court decision that broke up Hollywood's vertical integration system, the rise of television, the industry recession, the rise of these kind of intermediaries from talent agencies to production companies and to lawyers. And so that I think really helps students understand that what we call New Hollywood was a result of conditions that began decades before in what I call like a post-classical, post-studio period, beginning, in around the middle of the 1950s. And well, what I think is interesting about it is that when I was in film school, the New Hollywood period was taught as a period, right?
Mhm.
And the further that we move along in time, I continue to think more of it more as like this 9-year historical accident, right? That it is this kind of weird transition between an old Hollywood that has died and gone away, and is in this period of uncertainty, and there is this kind of anarchic burst before it solidifies into something else and something new, but something still very Hollywood with the rise of blockbuster Hollywood. And so, that's where I see kind of a lot of parallels between the 1970s and today, which is that, it really feels in this particular moment in Hollywood history in terms of anything from, labor disputes around AI to the rise of streaming to all these mergers that are happening, to Hollywood's reliance on franchises that fewer and fewer people are going out to see. But yet you have like a movie like Sinners that comes out, which that came out at the very end of the semester, the most recent semester that I taught it. I emailed my students like, y'all gotta go see this. This is like the closest thing to a 70s movie that I've seen in a
I
while.
was going to say the same thing. I was going to say that is spiritually a 70s movie.
You just heard a clip from the most recent episode of the History on Film podcast. For more of this episode and access to all our episodes, search for the History on Film podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Pandora. Don't forget to like and subscribe the channel here on YouTube. Thanks for listening.